Here we go again. Meghan Markle just couldn't resist. She's back with another unbelievable story, and this one's so far-fetched that even medical professionals are weighing in. She's now claiming she gained 65 pounds during her pregnancy, but somehow every ounce of it went only to her stomach. Not her face, not her legs, not even her ankles. Just one massive bump balanced on a pair of designer heels. And apparently she was gliding around in 5-inch stilettos as if she were shooting a Vogue cover, not nearing the end of pregnancy. You buying that? Let me set the scene she's trying to sell. Meghan, slim and petite before pregnancy, supposedly packed on more than 60 pounds, yet showed none of the usual signs of it. No puffiness, no swelling, no changes anywhere else. Just a perfect round belly, somehow supported by impossibly thin ankles that looked like they were forged from titanium. She even claims people would gasp and say, "How are you not tipping forward and falling flat on your face?" Girl, that's not a compliment. That's a sign something's off. And that's where the doctor steps in. A real one, not some online commentator, not a YouTube conspiracy theorist, not a gossip writer, an actual OB-GYN with over 20 years of experience delivering babies. And he didn't mince words. He said her story wasn't just unlikely or unusual, it was biologically impossible. According to him, when a woman gains that much weight, especially someone as petite as Meghan, it doesn't all stay in one spot. It's distributed throughout the body. The breasts enlarge, blood volume rises, the feet swell. The entire system adjusts to nurture a growing baby. That process doesn't just target the belly like some kind of Photoshop filter. Let's break it down. The average baby weighs about 7.5 pounds. Add roughly 1.5 pounds for the placenta, around 2 pounds for the uterus, another 2 for amniotic fluid. Breasts add about 2 pounds, extra blood, 4 pounds, and body fluids, another 4. And then there are maternal fat stores, the reserves your body builds to produce milk and keep energy steady. Those typically add another 7 to 8 pounds. Altogether, that brings the total to around 30 to 35 pounds for a healthy pregnancy. Maybe 40 at most, but 65 and all in one place? That's not pregnancy, that's fiction. And here's the kicker. This isn't just Meghan stretching the truth for attention. It's someone insulting people's intelligence outright. She's trying to rewrite biology, as if saying something enough times will somehow make it real. Maybe that kind of thing worked before, when no one was really paying close attention. But now people are listening. They're asking questions. And doctors, and the ones who actually understand how the human body works, are speaking up and saying, "Nope, not today." To make the story even more absurd, Meghan tried to back up this fantasy with old photos and emotional podcast moments, claiming she needed Harry's help just to walk. But real mothers, they're calling BS from a mile away. Because real moms know what pregnancy actually feels like. They remember the wobble, the swelling, the moment their favorite shoes suddenly stop fitting. So they're not buying this fairy tale of a flawless, high-heeled, belly-only pregnancy, like something straight out of a Hollywood script. But there's more, and it only gets messier. So buckle up. It's not just the story that's starting to fall apart. It's the entire illusion. Because now, questions are popping up about those ever-elusive birth certificates. Meghan's defenders love to yell privacy every time someone asks for simple, standard documentation. But here's the thing. No one has ever seen an official birth certificate for her daughter Lilibet that was directly released by Meghan herself. Not one. The only version out there came from the press, who somehow managed to get access that most reporters couldn't. And if that doesn't raise a few eyebrows, I don't know what will. Even Archie's certificate had its own share of confusion. At first, it didn't even include Her Royal Highness. Later, it was changed, but not because Meghan made some clerical error. No, that wasn't a correction. That was spun as a choice, a statement. And now with Lilibet, the secrecy has only gotten stranger. If you're so proud of your motherhood and so determined for the world to recognize your children, then why hide the basics? Why are even standard documents kept under wraps, unless they're being slipped to the media through quiet back channels? There's a moment in her recent podcast that really gives her mindset away. She takes a subtle jab at the late Queen, saying you don't have to tell anyone your baby's name before they're born. Sounds harmless, right? But for those actually paying attention, it's a sly dig, because she did tell the Queen. That's been documented. And pretending otherwise is just another case of Meghan rewriting the story to suit her ego. She always wants to be seen as the rebel, the outsider who breaks tradition, yet still clings to the privileges and titles that come with that same tradition. And speaking of titles, those kids, they're still in the royal line of succession. That's no small thing. It ties them and Meghan directly to the very institution she claims to despise. Yet somehow she leverages that connection every chance she gets. Publicly, she rails against colonialism and outdated systems. But behind closed doors, she still wants her children recognized as prince and princess. It's like trying to cancel the royal family while still using their last name to get a dinner reservation. And then there's the company she keeps. Chrissy Teigen was reportedly present during some of her video shoots. Yes, the same Chrissy who was once accused of telling vulnerable young people to harm themselves online. That's who Meghan chooses to work with while branding herself as a mother, a mentor, and a champion for women. It's all so carefully staged, like an Instagram feed, but the cracks are starting to show. And here's where it really begins to unravel. Meghan now calls herself a female founder. She's launched a brand that's supposedly backed by Netflix, but take a closer look. Netflix's name is nowhere on her website, no logo, no acknowledgement, nothing. Which brings up the real question. Was Netflix ever truly a partner, or were they just quietly fulfilling a contract to avoid another PR nightmare? One entertainment insider even claimed Netflix was more of a passive participant than an active collaborator. And if that's true, it completely undercuts the story Meghan's been selling about empowerment and entrepreneurship. Because everything about her image is built on contradiction. She preaches honesty but sidesteps questions. She celebrates motherhood yet is rarely seen with her children. She champions female empowerment while surrounding herself with people whose past raise serious red flags. And now she's pushing a pregnancy story that doesn't just sound exaggerated, it defies medical science. Strip away the titles, the PR spin, and the perfectly staged photo ops, and you're left with one question. What exactly is Meghan Markle trying to be? Because right now, the signs point to something painfully clear. Someone desperate to control the narrative, even when the facts refuse to cooperate. And maybe the most revealing part of all this isn't what Meghan says. It's what her actions quietly expose. For someone who constantly reminds the world that she's a mother, there's a striking absence of, well, actual mothering. Public appearances, she's front and center. Paparazzi shots, always perfectly timed. But when it comes to the children, she so often references to boost her image. They're practically invisible. And not in a protective, private parenting kind of way, but in a, are they even part of her daily life kind of way? And then there's the so-called doctor who delivered Lilibet, mysteriously gone, quietly stepped away. No interviews, no public acknowledgements, not even a formal mention. Just disappeared from the story as quickly as he appeared. That's not how royal births usually go. Traditionally, there's a team of physicians, professionals who proudly sign their names to the record. They're part of history. But in this case, silence. And that silence has sparked a wave of questions, ones no one in Meghan's circle seems eager to answer. Then comes the inevitable comparison to women like Kim Kardashian and Jennifer Lopez, both of whom went through highly public pregnancies. Their bodies changed. Their weight gain was visible, natural, and well documented. So when Meghan claims she gained 65 pounds that somehow bypassed every other part of her body except her belly, it's not just implausible, it's laughable. When J-Lo carried twins, she gained 50 pounds, and it showed. Every inch of her frame reflected it. Kim Kardashian had preeclampsia, swelled like a balloon, and still owned it. But Meghan, she wants us to believe she breezed through pregnancy like a size 0 mannequin with a bowling ball tucked under her dress. And then there's Harry, with his bizarre restrictions during the pregnancy. Reports say he demanded she never be filmed without a coat. Why? What's the obsession with hiding the belly if everything was perfectly normal? Why were Getty Images told to pull back? Why was there a specific photo taken just hours apart showing two completely different belly sizes? If that's not strange, I don't know what is. It all points to the same conclusion. Meghan is meticulously crafting a version of events where she's always the victim, the trailblazer, the misunderstood genius. But what she didn't count on is how closely people are watching now. Now, the inconsistencies are piling up, and no amount of polished Instagram quotes or softly spoken podcast confessions can hide them anymore. She wants the glory of royalty without the responsibility, the image of motherhood without the authenticity, the status of a global female founder without the work that comes with it. And as this web of half-truths continues to unravel, even her most loyal defenders are starting to squint. At this point, it's not even about the pregnancy anymore. It's about credibility. It's about how long someone can keep performing a version of themselves built entirely on smoke and mirrors. Meghan Markle might still have fans,